Welcome, learners. JustProfessor here. You think everyone notices when you mess up. You think people are staring at that stain on your shirt or remembering that awkward thing you said, but they're not. Nobody is paying nearly as much attention to you as you think they are, and believing they are is ruining your life. Imagine you're walking into a room and you trip slightly. You feel like everyone saw it and is judging you. You're embarrassed for the rest of the day thinking about all those people who witnessed your clumsiness. But if you ask the people in that room later, most of them wouldn't remember it at all. Some wouldn't have even noticed it happened. This is the spotlight effect. You think there's a spotlight on you, highlighting everything you do for everyone to see and judge, but actually, most people are barely noticing you because they're too busy worrying about their own spotlight. The spotlight effect is when you overestimate how much other people notice and remember about you. You think your appearance, your actions, your mistakes, your successes are all visible and memorable to everyone around you. You feel like you're under constant observation and judgment. But the reality is, most people are paying way less attention to you than you think because they're focused on themselves. This happens because you're at the center of your own experience. Everything you do feels significant to you. Every flaw you have is obvious to you. Every mistake you make replays in your mind. So you assume this must be true for others too, that you're just as prominent in their awareness as you are in your own. But you're not. To them, you're background. They notice you briefly and then move on to thinking about themselves. The problem is the spotlight effect creates massive social anxiety. You avoid situations because you think everyone will notice your flaws. You obsess over small mistakes because you think everyone remembers them. You're afraid to try things because you think everyone will watch you fail. And all of this fear is based on a false belief about how much attention you're actually getting. Let me show you where this affects your life. Clothing and appearance anxiety is huge for this. You have a bad hair day, or you're wearing something you're not sure about. You feel like everyone is noticing and judging. You might even cancel plans or avoid going somewhere because you think people will focus on how you look. But research shows most people won't notice or remember what you wore unless it's extremely unusual. There's a famous study where researchers had college students wear embarrassing t-shirts to class. The students thought about half the class would notice the shirt. Actually, less than a quarter of students noticed. The person wearing the shirt felt like they were under a spotlight, but most people just weren't paying attention. Public speaking shows this dramatically. When you're presenting, you feel like every eye is on you, judging every word, noticing every nervous gesture. You think the audience can see you shaking, hear your voice trembling, notice every mistake. But studies show audiences usually can't tell when speakers are nervous unless it's extreme. What feels like an obvious spotlight to you is mostly invisible to them. Social mistakes haunt you because of the spotlight effect. You say something awkward at a party. You trip in public. You forget someone's name. These moments feel massive to you. You replay them for days thinking about how everyone noticed and judged you. But ask those people a week later and most won't remember the incident at all. They were too busy with their own concerns. This creates a painful irony. You're avoiding social situations and obsessing over your performance because you think everyone is focused on you. But actually, everyone else is also focused on themselves and worried about whether you're judging them. Everyone thinks they're under a spotlight, and everyone is wrong. Work environments suffer from this. You make a mistake in a meeting and you think everyone noticed and will remember it forever. You think it damaged your reputation permanently. But most people in that meeting were thinking about their own contributions and barely registered your mistake. Your boss probably forgot about it by the next day. But you're still worried about it weeks later. Social media amplifies the spotlight effect in weird ways. You post something and you think everyone is seeing it and judging it. You obsess over likes and comments. But actually, most of your followers scroll right past your post without much thought. Even the people who do see it forget about it almost immediately. But you feel like that post is representing you to everyone. Dating and romantic situations get destroyed by spotlight effect. You're on a date and you say something you think was stupid. You spend the rest of the date convinced they noticed and are judging you for it. but they probably didn't notice or immediately forgot. They're too busy worrying about their own performance to obsess over yours. Both people think they're under scrutiny when actually both people are just self-focused. Fitness and exercise anxiety comes from this. People avoid gyms because they think everyone will watch them and judge their body or their form. But people at gyms are focused on their own workouts. They're not watching you. The spotlight you feel is mostly in your head. So how do you overcome the spotlight effect? How do you stop thinking everyone is watching and judging you? First, remember that everyone else is focused on themselves. They're not thinking about you because they're too busy thinking about themselves. They're worried about their own spotlight, their own appearance, their own mistakes. You're not nearly as central to their awareness as you are to yours. Second, test it. Pay attention to how much you actually notice and remember about other people's small mistakes or flaws. You'll realize you barely register them because you're focused on yourself. This should help you realize others are doing the same, not noticing or remembering your stuff because they're focused on their own stuff. Third, ask people. If you have a trusted friend, ask them if they remember specific moments you've been embarrassed about. Most of the time, they won't remember. This concrete evidence that your spotlight moments weren't actually spotlit helps break the illusion. Fourth, act as if you're not being watched. If you're avoiding something because you think people will notice and judge, do it anyway. You'll discover that most people don't notice or care. Each time you prove to yourself that the spotlight isn't real, it gets easier to ignore it. Fifth, focus outward instead of inward. When you're in social situations, deliberately pay attention to others instead of monitoring yourself. This breaks the self-focused cycle that creates the spotlight effect. And ironically, focusing on others usually makes you come across better anyway. Sixth, remember that attention fades incredibly fast. Even if someone does notice your mistake or flaw in the moment, they'll forget about it quickly. People's memories of random social moments are terrible. What feels permanently recorded in everyone's memory actually fades from their awareness almost immediately. Seventh, practice self-compassion. The spotlight effect makes you harsh on yourself because you think everyone else is being harsh on you. But they're not. So you don't need to be either. Treat yourself the way you'd treat a friend, with understanding that everyone makes mistakes and has flaws, and that's okay. The spotlight effect is making you think you're under constant observation and judgment when actually most people barely notice you. You feel exposed and visible when actually you're mostly background to others. This false belief is creating social anxiety, making you avoid opportunities and causing you to obsess over minor mistakes and flaws that nobody else noticed or remembered. Understanding that the spotlight isn't real is incredibly freeing. It means you can mess up without everyone judging you forever. It means you can wear what you want without everyone caring. It means you can try new things without everyone watching you fail. Most of your fears about social judgment are based on a massive overestimate of how much attention you're getting. This doesn't mean nobody ever notices you. If you do something extremely unusual, or if you're performing in front of an actual audience, people will pay attention. But for normal daily life, for regular social interactions, for small mistakes and minor flaws, you're getting way less attention than you think. Other people are the main characters in their own stories, not in yours. To them, you're a supporting character who appears briefly and then fades into the background while they focus on their own concerns. This is true for everyone. We're all convinced we're under spotlights, and we're all mostly invisible to each other. The next time you feel embarrassed or anxious because you think everyone noticed something about you, remember the spotlight effect. Ask yourself if people are really paying as much attention as you think. The answer is almost always no. They're too busy with their own lives to obsess over yours. Stop avoiding things because you think everyone will notice and judge. Stop replaying mistakes because you think everyone remembers them. Stop obsessing over your appearance because you think everyone is examining you. The spotlight you feel isn't real. You're freer than you think to just be yourself without constant judgment. Subscribe to learn about more social biases making you misunderstand how others see you.